Okay, you're safe. You're safe. Fear is a perception. And I just remind myself those things, that I'm safe, and fear is just an emotion, a strong emotion, one of our strongest emotions. There used to be a time in my life where I was completely afraid to speak to people that I didn't know, but also people that I knew, people that I grew up with, family, friends. There was a time where I was too scared to even be seen by people, and my body would just freeze up, and I would just be totally afraid to even interact with people, to go out. I didn't go to parties, I didn't go to events. I was extremely nervous. Hey, what's up? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I went from fear to freedom in my life, and how it's really helped me, and things I've done to become free of fear and from anxiety. So growing up, I was diagnosed with social anxiety, and this kind of held me back and almost ruined me and almost ruined my life. And I'm going to share today how I got over that. But also, when I say fear, I'm also referring to just fear of doing things. I was really afraid of getting hurt, and I was very cautious with everything I did. For example, a lot of times now I hike in the woods and things like that, and before, when I first attempted, I was totally scared. I couldn't do things. I was very afraid of heights, and these are a little bit of normal fears, actually. Just regular fear, not just anxiety. And so now I feel like I'm more in a state that I'm free from fear, from that emotion, from that energy of fear, from that vibration of fear that holds people back, that kills people, that drowns people. It's like an overwhelming feeling of just it's a horrible feeling to have a bunch of anxiety, and it's a normal human feeling, but we don't need it always. So I'm going to talk about how I finally was able to heal myself, and finally I'm able to be free and have friends and talk to people and socialize, but also do activities that I was afraid of, that I didn't even know I was afraid of. But once you go ahead and you go out to do it, you're like, oh shit, it was like one of those things. It's not in the back of your head that you're scared, but then you realize, looking back at your life, that, oh shit, I was scared of everything. But for example, like my stepdad, I remember when I was a child, he was like, Kayla, you're afraid of everything, even your own shadow. Which is funny, because growing up I was trying to be this really tough kid, and prove myself and prove that I was strong and things like that. Yeah, it's funny because now I'm thinking about it, that's kind of funny that he would say that, because the shadow is also a term for our shadow self, the things that we don't want to deal with, these traumas and our personality that's always trying to come out of us. So it's kind of funny that he said that, looking back at it. But what he meant was that I look behind me and there's a shadow, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm gonna get into that today, some of the things that I was really fearful, and some examples of maybe that you can maybe relate to, and things that really I think helped me get out of that space. First, it changed for me when I went on a road trip. It was my first time really traveling. So that experience put me through a lot of things that I was scared of, that I didn't realize that I got over that fear until after the road trip. That caused me to want to push myself to become a better me and self-transform and become who I want to become and heal myself. And so that led to me noticing that, okay, anxiety is actually a big problem. I actually noticed that a little bit beforehand, but that is when I was like, fuck anxiety, fuck being scared. Seriously though, I'm done with it, and it's not fair. It's not fair to be in that place that you're just scared, it's not life, it's not living. And I'm talking like this aggressively because I know that it's not fair, and that's what I went through most of my life. And everyone deserves to be comfortable in their body, and everyone deserves to be comfortable around other people and to feel safe. So that's what we're gonna get into today, so let's go. I was journaling and reading. I actually just bought this good book. It's so good. I make this big list of books that I want to read, and then, oh my gosh, it takes me so long to get to the ones that I get excited about, but finally I got to it. It's about healing trauma, and it's called Waking the Tiger. So I'll be making more videos about that. So that's kind of what I want my channel to be about: healing trauma, ancient wisdom that allows you to become, be in touch with the divine that's inside of you, and also to heal yourself, and to be happier, and find out where are we going when we die, and who are we, our consciousness. That's basically what my channel is going to be about, my discoveries and my learnings and my experience. Maybe you went through these same things, and if not, maybe you could comment down below if you want, your experience with anxiety or fear, and your examples. So for me, how it was I remember being in school, and this is probably a little bit common, but sitting in the back of class and not really getting to the front where there's a lot of attention, sitting away from people. And I used to be so scared, because I don't know why. Maybe I felt like I was different, or that I didn't fit in, or that I could remember a lot of people always telling me I was weird. And so people would always tell me that I was weird, or that I talked too much, and that kind of made me want to be quiet. I remember being in the class, and like I would have to go pee so bad, and I just could not get it. I was too scared to raise my hand. I was too scared to raise my hand and tell my teacher that I had to go pee. That's how scared I was. Usually I would go like before class, or I'll run after, so I'll be late to like my next class because I had to go pee, because I was too scared to ask to go to the bathroom. A lot of times I wouldn't get the lesson on the class, and I would be too scared to ask. Like I just couldn't do it. Like I really just couldn't do it. Like my body would freeze up, and it would just be this feeling of like whenever I would have to talk in front of someone or publicly in the class, my body would almost freeze, and it would just be this overwhelming, uncomfortable feeling of just shock. It's like my body was going to shock every time. I just couldn't. It was like I couldn't move. I don't know. It was a weird feeling. But so yeah, I was doing really bad in school because I was too scared to ask questions or get any sort of attention from anybody or anything. Holy moly, it's actually really hot here, so I'm gonna sit down for a second. I felt really uncomfortable and really scared talking to family, friends, and talking to people and just expressing myself. And so whenever there was like an event at my house or a party that a family was throwing, or usually a family friend that I grew up with, I didn't go, or I usually like stayed in my room a lot because I was too scared to be out where there was like a bunch of people. Lock myself in my room. Like I was just too nervous to be out there and to talk, because whenever the attention was on me and someone was asking me a question or trying to make conversation, my whole body would just have this huge uncomfortable feeling where I was just like uncomfortable. I was frozen, but my whole body was shaking on the inside. That's how it felt. And too scared to speak to people that I grew up with, and I noticed that the emotion that I had the hardest time showing was like enjoyment. It's like I didn't want to show myself being happy. I didn't want to show myself like in a pleasure state. Like enjoyment was my hardest thing to show. And then it developed into a problem where I kind of forgot to smile. And I recently, for the last year or so, been learning like how to smile again. And I realized that like when someone has anxiety or they're not expressing their emotions to the point where they need to, that it bottles up those emotions and it holds that energy inside of you, and eventually it comes out in nasty ways, and it leads you to hate, it leads you to anger, and it led me to hate others and hate myself, and and then the cycle just continues. It's like a compounding effect. And so I think it's really important for people to release anxiety, to know how to transmute it into a different type of emotion or vibration, but also to release trauma and anything. It even got to a point with the people that I lived with, my mom, my stepdad, always feeling like uncomfortable around them and feeling like they didn't understand me and that I couldn't be myself or that I couldn't show happiness. Wow. So now I'm going to talk about the things that I've been doing that I feel like may help you as well to go from a state of fear to freedom, like me. And this is a process. There's no timeline. There's no due date. You kind of just go at your own pace, have patience, recognize your progress, and just keep going. Like, make it your new hobby. First thing I started to do was learn how to breathe. So I tell myself whenever I get anxious, I just take a breather and slow everything down at my own pace. Not in the shocking way that I was used to, but I slow it down at my own pace with my breath. And so that's what I do when I start to get anxious, especially when someone's about to talk to me. I just breathe and I just relax. I let my body relax. I tell my body to relax. And that's the number one thing that I do in a moment where I'm getting anxious. I know to do that, and I know to remind myself that, okay, you're safe. You're safe. Fear is a perception. And I just remind myself those things, that I'm safe, and fear is just an emotion, a strong emotion, one of our strongest emotions. And I let myself know these reminders while I'm breathing and I'm slowing myself down. Whatever the case may be, if it's an emergency, if everyone else is panicking, anything like that, or just talking to somebody if you get anxious, doing that. And then what I started to do was I started to go to events and gatherings, and I started to go to specific events. I started to go to events that I'm used, that can help me grow. And so I never been like a club person, a drinker, a party person. I do enjoy socializing. I do enjoy dancing to the music. So I was just like, okay, let me go to a place that I'll feel comfortable and welcomed and not judged. So places like the club may not be your first bet. But for example, I started going to like women gatherings and yoni steams and things like that, where women are just like loving each other and accepting each other and not trying to battle each other and be in competition, and everyone's very accepting and things like that. So I started going to these events and making friends and trying to have conversations with people and trying to do the certain healing modality that was in that event to actually help me, but also to make friends and socialize and learn how to speak to people without getting overwhelmed. And it's been really tough. It's been a tough ride, tougher than I'm making it seem. And so as a form of expression, because it's something I never did, I never really expressed myself in any way. I know I talked about journaling a lot, meditating. These are all newer things within the last year and a half that has helped me. But I don't know if I talked about this yet, but I started to dance. But I didn't go dancing to the club or to a party or to a ecstatic dance. I want to go soon. I'll make a video on that whenever I get the balls to go to ecstatic dance. It still makes me a little bit nervous. It's like free expression dance. You're kind of just dancing with yourself, doing whatever your body tells you to. But I started doing that at home. So I'll play music, a playlist of any sort, or a join along dance video on YouTube, and I'll be dancing everywhere, all around my room, just letting my body flow. In the beginning I was like, I'm not used to it. I wasn't used to it at all, just feeling the music, feeling the beat, let loose, craziest things ever. Like you'll see me doing like the like not normal, like it won't be usual dances because I don't really know any. It'll just be me making stuff up. You might see me doing the robot, you might see me making something up. I don't know, you never know what you're gonna find in my room, but that's another form of expression that I'll do. So I'll just remind myself that I'm safe and breathe and just slow everything down mentally and calm my body down and relax. Go to events and gatherings that are calm and accepting and sort of in the healing industry. Then I'll just express myself through dancing. And eventually I started to sit with medicines. And what that is basically how I see it is God and the universe, whatever you want to say, made all these plants and made us and made everything. So how I see it is God also made mushrooms. And so basically what I did was I was lucky enough, I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to get these mushrooms and then have a few of my friends and us sit together with our journals, no phones, no music, and we sat together and we would basically have our own little gathering together of healing. And so that would be our intention. We'll set an intention to feel better or heal or to find out something. And since these plants and these fungi are coming straight from God, we see them as messengers from God. And so that has helped me as well to kind of unlock my subconscious mind and see the messages that are coming out of there from myself or from my angels or from God or from aliens or from gnomes or whatever you want to believe they come from. That's my experience with fear and how I was able to go from a state of fear to freedom. And so those are just the things that I have been trying. There may be more. Everything's going to be different depending on who you are and your circumstances. So just try a few things out. Let me know your experience with anxiety and how you dealt with it down below.